Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about a process for finding and achieving your unique purpose. Most people begin the journey of finding purpose by seeking clarity. They want the roadmap first. They sit in silence, asking themselves heavy questions. What is my mission? What is my destiny? Why am I here? But here's the truth. Purpose rarely arrives fully formed. It almost never walks in like a lightning bolt in the night. Instead, it emerges slowly, patiently, through the gentle and persistent pull of curiosity. Curiosity is subtle, but it's powerful. It's the inner nudge that makes you pause when you see something that excites you, or the energy that draws your eyes to the same kinds of stories, subjects, or questions again and again. That quiet flicker inside, often dismissed or ignored, is the earliest signal of purpose. But society has conditioned many of us to look past it. We're taught to pursue certainty. We're expected to have clear goals, clear answers, and 5-year plans. In the process, we forget how to simply follow what fascinates us. When you're curious about something, you're not committing to it forever. You're simply saying, there's something here worth exploring. That exploration is the beginning of everything. A person drawn to nature might not know if they want to be a botanist, a climate scientist, or a wildlife photographer, but the pull is real. That pull matters more than the title. The key is not to define your destination right away, but to allow curiosity to lead you one step deeper into the unknown. Why does curiosity matter so much? Because it activates your attention system. When you're curious, your brain literally lights up. Neurotransmitters like dopamine are released not only when you get a reward, but when you anticipate discovery. In other words, the act of exploring something new fuels your brain with motivation. It sharpens your focus. It makes learning easier. It makes the hard work feel worth it. This is a biological foundation of purpose. Purpose is easier to pursue when the process itself feels alive. The irony is that we often ignore our true curiosities because they don't fit neatly into a traditional box. You may be drawn to ancient languages or sound design or the way people move in public spaces. You might feel deeply compelled by stories of transformation or systems that bring order to chaos. These threads may seem random or impractical at first, but they are not meaningless. They are breadcrumbs. Following them might not give you immediate clarity, but they will teach you who you are, and that knowledge becomes the bedrock of purpose. A major problem is that people often confuse purpose with a job title, a role, or an achievement, but purpose is deeper than any position you'll ever hold. Purpose is about alignment. When your natural interests, strengths, and values begin to sync up with your actions, and the only way to begin that alignment is to start with curiosity. Curiosity is non-linear, sometimes chaotic, often slow, but it never leads you astray. Every time you act on your curiosity, you gain data about what energizes you, what drains you, what you're good at, and what matters most to you. Some of the most fulfilled individuals in the world didn't begin with a clear mission. They simply paid attention to what fascinated them and gave themselves permission to dive in. They stayed open. They didn't force clarity. They built it. Over time, their curiosity turned into patterns. Those patterns turned into skills, and those skills shaped a path that became meaningful. Many people try to reverse engineer purpose by analyzing their past or planning for the future. But purpose grows in the now. And the now is only accessible through presence, and curiosity is the doorway to that presence. When you're curious, you're connected to something real and immediate. You're no longer stuck in analysis or fear. You're moving, you're learning, you're evolving, you're becoming. When people talk about finding purpose, they often imagine a breakthrough moment, a sudden realization, a spark that forever changes their direction. But real purpose doesn't usually arrive in one spectacular flash. Instead, it shows up in your daily pattern. It's hidden in the things you're willing to put effort into again and again, and in the way your body and mind respond to those efforts. And that's why finding and achieving your unique purpose is not just about inspiration, it's about design. Specifically, designing your days around the natural rise and fall of your effort and energy. Every person has a unique energy rhythm. Some people feel most alive in the early hours of the morning, while others thrive late into the night. Some people can focus intensely for short bursts, while others need long, uninterrupted stretches of time. This isn't laziness or discipline, it's biology. Your nervous system, your hormone cycles, your cognitive bandwidth, all of it plays into how and when you can give your best effort. The mistake most people make is forcing themselves into schedules that don't fit their natural design. They push when they should be resting, they rest when their brain is primed to push, and then they wonder why they feel misaligned. The truth is, energy isn't just about sleep or food, it's about alignment. You are most energized when you are doing things that matter to you. That means that energy is a compass. It's not just a physical resource to be managed, it's feedback. When you feel lit up during a task, that's not just mood, it's your system telling you there's something important here. When you feel depleted, despite getting enough rest, that's your body telling you this isn't the path. Purpose isn't about doing what's easy, it's about doing what's deeply worth the effort. And worth is always reflected in the way you feel before, during, and after the work. So how do you design your day around effort and energy? It begins with noticing. Pay attention to what tasks bring you into a state of flow where time seems to disappear. Pay attention to what kind of effort feels rewarding, even when it's difficult. There is a difference between exhaustion from growth and exhaustion from disconnection. One is fulfilling, the other is draining. The more you notice the kind of effort that energizes you, the more you can start shaping your life around it. This might mean restructuring your work blocks. It might mean spending more time in solitude or collaboration. It might mean saying no to tasks that you're good at but that deplete you, and saying yes to tasks that challenge you in ways that make you grow. It's also important to understand that purpose doesn't mean escaping hard work. It means engaging with the right kind of hard work. Purpose is not a shortcut around resistance. It's the willingness to keep going through resistance because the outcome matters to you. When you're on the right path, the effort still costs something, but the return is tenfold. You're tired, but it's a meaningful tired. You're working, but it doesn't feel like self-betrayal. That's the difference. That's the signal. One of the most misunderstood ideas in personal development is the glorification of hustle. While effort is essential, blind hustle can actually pull you further from purpose. Effort without direction is noise, but effort with energy, effort given at the right time in the right way towards something that aligns with your core becomes momentum. That momentum compounds. A few intentional hours of deep effort, aligned with your peak energy, can do more than days of distracted motion. Purpose becomes visible in patterns. The pattern of what you're willing to try for, the pattern of what drains you and what fills you, the pattern of where you push through and where you naturally come alive. That's why designing your day is not just a productivity tip. It's a spiritual discipline. It's a way of telling yourself, I matter. My energy matters. What I give my attention to matters. When you protect and prioritize the moments where your best energy meets your most meaningful effort, you stop chasing purpose and start living in it. The human nervous system is not built merely for survival. It is designed for direction. At its core, your brain is a prediction machine. It constantly scans the environment, processes sensory input, and constructs a mental model of the future. That's why vision mental imagery of where you're going, is not just a mindset trick or motivational exercise. It is a biological necessity. When you give your nervous system something to aim at, something to believe in, something to rehearse and prepare for, you're not just dreaming, you're rewiring yourself for action. Vision activates the neural circuits of attention, motivation, and planning. It gives your brain a reason to care. Without it, your actions become scattered, your energy becomes diluted, and your days begin to feel aimless. But with vision, even the smallest actions take on meaning. A vision pulls you forward. It doesn't just inspire you, it organizes you. It creates coherence in your mind and alignment in your behavior. When the brain has a clear image of the future, it becomes better at filtering out distractions, prioritizing choices, and allocating resources. This is not about fantasy. This is about focus. The remarkable thing is that the brain doesn't entirely distinguish between vividly imagined scenarios and real experiences. When you close your eyes and visualize yourself speaking with confidence, building something extraordinary, or completing a difficult goal, you are training your brain to behave in alignment with that future. Athletes have used this for decades. High performers in every field know this truth. If you want to embody excellence, you must first see it in your mind. And not just once, not just vaguely, but often and in detail. There is a difference between vague hoping and intentional visioning. Vague hoping sounds like, I just want to be successful. That's not a vision, that's a wish. Intentional visioning sounds like, I can see myself waking up with energy, leading a team, solving meaningful problems, and creating something that impacts lives. The more specific the image, the more powerful the signal to your nervous system. You begin to think, feel, and act in ways that align with that reality. The process of visioning also regulates emotion. When life feels chaotic, the mind tends to spiral into fear, confusion, or distraction. But vision creates structure in the uncertainty. It gives the mind a fixed point on the horizon, something to move toward even when the path is foggy. Just like a lighthouse in the storm, vision doesn't eliminate the waves, it keeps you oriented. This orientation is deeply calming for the nervous system. It reduces overwhelm and restores a sense of purpose, even in the face of stress. However, vision must be internally generated. It can't be borrowed from someone else's blueprint. If your vision is based on what others expect from you, it won't activate the same emotional and neurological commitment. The nervous system knows when a goal is authentic. It responds differently when the image in your mind is connected to your values, your interests, your unique path. That's why finding your vision begins with listening to what energizes you, to what stirs your imagination, to what makes you feel something real. Once you begin to build your vision, you must return to it regularly, not once a year during resolutions, but daily. Consistency matters more than intensity. A few minutes of focused visualization each day has a cumulative effect. It builds neural associations. It creates what some researchers call goal imagery rehearsal. You begin to recognize opportunities that match your vision. Your confidence grows, not because you've arrived, but because your system has rehearsed what arriving looks like. The more familiar the future becomes, the less resistance you feel toward pursuing it. Vision is not about controlling every detail of life. It's about choosing a direction, one that activates your system and calls you into expansion. It's about placing your attention on what you want to create rather than what you want to avoid. It's about allowing your brain to align with possibility instead of protection. In the search for purpose, people are often told to follow their passion. It sounds like good advice. Passion is exciting. It burns bright. It feels alive. But passion is not always sustainable. It fluctuates, it fades, and it can even mislead. You might feel passion for something one day and indifference the next. Passion is emotional fuel, but it is not a compass. It can get you moving, but it won't always get you to where you're meant to go. That's why the wiser pursuit, the deeper pursuit, is not passion, it's meaning. Meaning is built. It's forged over time through consistency, contribution, and connection. It's the result of doing something that matters, not just to you, but often to something greater than you. Unlike passion, meaning is not dependent on mood. It doesn't disappear when things get hard. In fact, meaning often reveals itself in the middle of difficulty. It shows up when you're tired but keep going, when you're challenged but refuse to quit, when you do something not because it feels good, but because it feels right. Passion is about what excites you. Meaning is about what fulfills you. There is a fundamental difference between the two. Passion often wants freedom, novelty, and inspiration. Meaning wants commitment, effort, and impact. Passion is about the fire. Meaning is about the foundation. And if you want to build a life of purpose, it must be built on something deeper than fleeting emotion. It must be built on values, on what you stand for, what you care about, and what you're willing to sacrifice for. There's nothing wrong with passion. It can be a beautiful entry point. It can open doors and awaken creativity. But when passion fades, people often feel lost. They question themselves, doubt their direction, and think they chose the wrong path. But maybe the path isn't the problem. Maybe the expectation was. Expecting passion to carry you every step of the way is like expecting a spark to light a fire that never needs tending. Purpose doesn't thrive in intensity alone. It thrives in devotion. Meaning comes from using your abilities in service of something larger than your comfort. It might be helping others grow, building something lasting, solving complex problems, or standing up for what you believe in. Meaning usually requires work, repetition, and patience. It asks you to show up when you don't feel like it. It stretches you, it humbles you. And in that stretching, in that giving of yourself, you discover something far more powerful than passion. You discover who you truly are. The nervous system is drawn to meaning. It regulates itself more efficiently when you are engaged in meaningful activity. Your stress is reduced not because life gets easier, but because your suffering begins to make sense. Struggle without meaning leads to burnout. Struggle with meaning builds resilience. This is the invisible architecture of purpose. The brain craves a reason to endure, and meaning is that reason. When you understand why you're doing something, you can tolerate almost any how. Many people spend years chasing passions that fizzle out. They start projects, jobs, or relationships with intense enthusiasm, only to abandon them when the glow fades. But those who pursue meaning stay the course, not because it's easy, but because it's aligned. They may not feel on fire every day, but they feel grounded. They feel direction. They feel integrity between who they are and what they do. That integrity is rare, and it is the signal that you're walking the path of purpose. To pursue meaning is to ask different questions. Instead of asking, what do I love doing? Ask, what am I willing to struggle for? Instead of asking, what excites me? Ask, what sustains me? Instead of seeking endless pleasure, seek deep alignment. Passion may give you the spark, but meaning gives you the structure. And when the two come together, when passion is directed by meaning, you become unstoppable. You don't just chase moments of happiness, you build a life that matters. Purpose may be the vision, the destination that stirs your soul and gives your life direction, but it will always remain an idea, just potential, without the bridge that leads you to it. That bridge is built with discipline. While inspiration gets you started and passion keeps you excited, it is discipline that carries you through the valleys of fatigue, distraction, and self-doubt. It is the steady companion that transforms a powerful idea into a lived reality. Without discipline, purpose remains abstract. With it, purpose becomes tangible, actionable, and transformative. Discipline is not a punishment. It's not a restriction that chokes creativity or dulls joy. It is the highest form of self-respect. It says, I believe in my goal enough to show up for it, especially when I don't feel like it. Discipline isn't loud or glamorous. It doesn't demand recognition. It's quiet, deliberate, and consistent. It wakes you up early. It keeps you focused when distractions call your name. It reminds you that your future is built in the choices you make today, not the ones you intend to make someday. People often wait for motivation to strike. They want to feel ready, inspired, or in the mood before they begin. But motivation is a state. It comes and goes. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision. It doesn't care about mood. It doesn't negotiate with laziness or fear. It simply says, I do the work because the work must be done. And that mindset, when repeated day after day, creates momentum. Momentum leads to progress, and progress feeds back into purpose. The cycle reinforces itself, but it begins with discipline. When you're pursuing something meaningful, there will always be friction. There will be days when the path is unclear, when results are invisible, when the excitement fades. This is the territory where most people quit. But discipline is what keeps you grounded. It reminds you that effort counts, even when the outcome isn't immediate. Purpose is rarely achieved through giant leaps. It is achieved through 1,000 small decisions to stay committed when it would be easier to stop. Discipline is also what gives you control in a world full of chaos. You cannot control external outcomes. You cannot predict every obstacle, but you can control your input. You can control your consistency. You can control your attention, your preparation, your response. And in doing so, you reclaim agency. You become an active participant in your purpose, not a passive dreamer waiting for life to align perfectly. There is freedom in that responsibility. It means your progress isn't dictated by circumstances, it's determined by your commitment. Discipline also builds self-trust. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it's hard, you strengthen the belief that you are dependable. You stop relying on willpower and start relying on identity. You stop saying, I hope I can stay consistent, and you start saying, I am someone who keeps showing up. That identity becomes your anchor, and once your identity is linked to discipline, you don't need external validation to stay on track. You know who you are, and that knowing is enough to keep you moving. Progress is not always visible. There will be stretches of time where the needle doesn't seem to move, where the effort feels thankless. This is when discipline matters most. This is where you either retreat or rise. Purpose asks for long-term vision, but discipline asks for daily effort. It asks you to close the gap between your intentions and your actions. It doesn't demand perfection. It asks for persistence. It doesn't care if you stumble. It cares that you return. And in that return, in that constant choosing of effort over ease, real progress is made. The truth is, everyone wants the result. Everyone wants the success story, but not everyone wants to live the process. Discipline is the process. It is the day in, day out commitment to the unseen, uncelebrated, unglamorous work. And it is that process that shapes you. It sharpens your character. It stretches your limits. It builds the bridge between the life you dream of and the life you're willing to earn. The journey to finding and fulfilling your purpose is not just a mental game. It's a full body experience. Your psychology, the way you think, focus, and feel, is deeply influenced by your physiology. You cannot separate the mind from the body and expect consistent progress. When your physical state is out of sync, your mental clarity suffers. When your energy is low, your decision-making weakens. When your body is stuck in stress mode, your thoughts spiral into anxiety or stagnation. This is why aligning your physiology with your psychology is not optional. It is essential. The nervous system, your body's control center, responds to cues from both your internal thoughts and external environment. It listens to your breathing, posture, eye movement, sleep rhythm, and level of activity. When these systems are functioning optimally, your brain operates at a higher level. You think clearer, focus deeper, and act with more intention. When these systems are neglected, you are mentally foggy, emotionally reactive, and prone to burnout. The secret to sustained clarity and emotional resilience isn't found in trying harder. It's often found in regulating your body first. Start with the breath. The way you breathe directly affects your nervous system. Shallow, rapid breathing tells the brain that something is wrong. It signals threat, triggering the fight or flight response. Deep, deliberate breaths, especially extended exhales, signal safety. This calms the body, quiets the mind, and allows you to reset your focus. Breath is the one tool that you carry with you always, and it can be used in any situation to regain control, reduce stress, and realign with your purpose. Your posture also speaks a language that your brain understands. Slouched shoulders and downward gaze reinforce feelings of defeat or doubt. An upright stance and forward gaze tell the brain that you're ready for action, that you're alert and open. This simple shift in posture changes your internal chemistry. It changes the way you feel about yourself. This isn't about pretending or forcing positivity. It's about using your body as a tool to activate the mental state you need to perform at your highest level. Sleep is another critical element of physiological alignment. When you're sleep deprived, your cognitive ability drops, your impulse control weakens, and your emotions become unstable. You can't think about purpose clearly when your brain is in survival mode. High-quality sleep restores the brain's ability to plan, reflect, and regulate emotion, all of which are necessary when working toward meaningful goals. Protecting your sleep is not a luxury. It is an investment in your clarity, creativity, and long-term motivation. Movement is medicine. Physical activity does more than build strength or burn calories. It increases blood flow to the brain, improves memory, and reduces anxiety. Even a short walk can shift your state dramatically. Movement releases chemicals that promote focus and well-being. It clears mental clutter and restores the rhythm of thought. Stagnation in the body often leads to stagnation in the mind. A body in motion signals to the brain that life is moving forward, and it responds by giving you the energy to keep going. Nutrition also plays a powerful role in the mind-body connection. What you consume influences how you feel, think, and function. Highly processed foods can cloud your mind and disrupt your emotional stability. Nutrient-rich foods, especially those that balance blood sugar and support brain health, can sharpen focus, enhance mood, and elevate endurance. Fueling your body with the right inputs sends a message to your brain, I am preparing for something important. Even light exposure plays a part. Getting sunlight in the morning helps regulate your circadian rhythm, which affects your sleep, hormones, and energy cycles. It primes the brain to be alert and focused during the day. Likewise, reducing artificial light at night signals to the brain that it's time to wind down. These environmental cues, though subtle, have a profound impact on your mental state and overall readiness to pursue your goals. Aligning your physiology with your psychology means respecting the intricate link between your body and your mind. It means realizing that your emotional and cognitive performance are not happening in isolation. They're being shaped every moment by how you treat your body. You can have the clearest vision and the strongest sense of purpose, but without physiological support, your system won't be able to sustain the journey. This alignment is the foundation for stamina, clarity, and resilience.